What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Show Me Show podcast for episode 67. Today's episode, we got Mr. Jacob Michael Baldwin, our baseball extraordinaire, on to talk some All-Star Week and trade deadline. About halfway through the year, so last time we had him on was for our MLB preview, and we figured middle of the summer, great time to have him on. So we're going to start the show. He's on right now, so we might have some other stuff after the interview, but probably not because there's nothing to talk about outside of baseball. So, Jake, first off, how are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back on the show. And same thing we had going last year. I think we did a All-Star break show, so it's kind of becoming tradition now.
Oh, of course. I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Let's get to some of the questions here. So, Jake, how has this MLB season been? Just overall, I mean, obviously the Cardinals are, they're the Cardinals, but outside of that, how has it been?
Weird. I feel like it's been a weird season. Even with the Cardinals, even without the Cardinals, like not talking about them, some of these bigger teams like the Yankees, the Mets, the Padres, none of them are kind of really in it. I mean, they're fringe in it, but it's weird to see not those big name teams, and it's kind of weird to see teams like the Orioles and the Diamondbacks and the Rangers, all of them up at the top of the standings. Marlins as well, and the Reds at the top of the NL Central. So it's been weird. It's weird to see all those teams like that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for sure. It's very unpredictable, I guess to say the least. Kim, you want to get into some questions here?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, me and Luke are cuddling, sharing a mic today. But I had some questions, and me and Luke, we're broken records with the Cardinals, so we're kind of going bigger picture, I think, today, more, especially around All-Star break. And these are two that I really wanted to hear your thoughts on because we just talked about how weird of a season it's been so far. So these are same questions for each for the NL and AL, but your biggest surprise so far in the NL team and then player. So start with those two. I would like to hear what you have to say about that.
Biggest surprise for me in the NL, I'll have to go with actually the Marlins. They have a good little thing going, and I'm really surprised because I kind of thought they would be down there with the Nationals. Probably not as bad as the Nationals, but they're holding on to a wild card spot right now. And they're kind of in a tough division when you look at it. They got the Braves, they got the Phillies and the Mets, and they kind of taken advantage of how bad the Phillies and the Mets have been. So they've really a team that surprised me. The other teams like the Diamondbacks that I would put on that list, but I could kind of wrap my head around that if you told me that at the beginning of the season. But I would say the Marlins.
Like I did.
Like you did. But I would say the Marlins has probably been the biggest shock for me on how well they're actually playing.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I would also say maybe the biggest surprise has been some of the downfalls of some of these teams. Kind of like you just said a few moments ago, kind of like the Padres not being very good and even the Mets, but the Mets are just kind of Metsing and stuff. But yeah. What about player?
For player, I'll stick with the Marlins, and I'm going to go Luis Arias. Kind of having fun watching his battle for a 400 season, betting average-wise, even though I hate that stat. But he's really surprised me, and just that trade in general really has surprised me. Kind of a deal that comes off as a win-win for a win-win for both teams as the Cardinals give up a solo shot right there. And now the Marlins take the lead.
Shot by the backup catcher.
But I would say watching Arias, and I kind of thought at the beginning of the season that he was just like a singles guy, but he's actually mixed in a lot of extra base hits as well, a lot of doubles, and he's probably the biggest reason why the Marlins are doing so well.
Yeah, I would say that too. He's kind of like that perfect piece that was missing for the Marlins. They have some power, they have a ton of pitching, but they don't really have the on base guy. So to have that, like the top of the order guy that just consistently gets on base is just huge for them. I think a huge part of their success. On to the Marlins real quick, just to stay on it. Skip Schumacher, first year manager. Cardinals obviously lost him in the offseason, and now we see what's happening with the Cardinals. We see what's happening with the Marlins. Do you think he had anything to do with, I don't know, maybe some of the Cardinals' success from last year?
Not as much as people think, I would say, because, and he just said the other day in one of his interviews, everything that he's teaching and everything he knows, he said he learned from being in the Cardinal organization. That's basically where he was his whole career and spent 1 year there as the bench coach. So, I mean, how much does a bench coach really play into it? Really, in one season of him being the bench coach, I don't think made that big of a difference in how good we were last year, really. But, I mean, he's doing a great job in Miami, and I'm happy for him. Someone I've always really liked.
Oh, yeah, me too. I mean, I was very excited when he got the managerial job, and I'm glad to see that they're doing well. And not tonight, obviously, because they're playing us. But yeah, for sure. What about the AL surprise team and player?
AL, I'm going to go with the team that I just mentioned earlier. How good the Rangers have been. Uh, Obviously, they spent big in the offseason, and they did the offseason before, too. They have DeGrom, who's now hurt, and they have Simeon and Seager. But I really thought that no matter how good the Rangers were, the Astros would be better, and they would just carry that division. But the Rangers have really stepped up, and they look like a whole new ball club from when they do last year.
They also got a new manager too.
Yeah.
I think that has a chance to be just like a huge part of the game is just hiring managers that know ball. I mean, really. But yeah, the Rangers have stepped up. But do you think that they will ultimately hold on to the division? Because the Astros are coming. They're going to Astro at some point this year.
Yeah, I think the Astros will Astro, but I don't know. I think the Rangers will be just fine, and I do think they'll hold on to that division because their lineup right now is kind of just a juggernaut, and they can afford for a couple guys in their lineup to go ice cold, and they still have like 4 or 5 guys that can still go 2 for 3 with a bunch of home runs and stuff like that. And I think their lineup is deeper than the Astros lineup is. But the Astros probably have the edge in starting pitching, I would say.
Yeah, I also, they kind of have a good stranglehold on it right now because like the Astros have kind of just been hovering around 500 baseball, and like we said, I mean they're probably gonna pop off here pretty soon, but I mean they have quite a stranglehold on it. I know just a couple like a week or so ago, I think it was like 11 games above everybody else. I think so.
They're only 2.5 above the Astros now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean they're right there, but. I don't know, both teams. It's going to be something that's going to be awesome to watch how that plays out. But I do get what you guys are saying, though. The Astros are kind of one of those teams that feels like they always start off bad, and then they're just going to bang on a couple trash cans, and then they're going to get going.
All right, what about AL player? Close this segment out.
The only guy that comes to mind when we talk about this, and I feel like it's so cliche to say, but it's Ohtani. It's gotta be. He's just amazing to watch, and he's doing stuff. I feel like every night there's a new stat involving Ohtani, and I don't remember that one meme on Twitter, but something about how Ohtani and Trout always break some kind of record, and then that hasn't been done since like 1909.
It's the like the Ohtani does something that hasn't been done since Tuxton Armo Doyle, and Trout hits 2 homers, and the Angels lose 8-4 or something like that. Yeah, that's a stat I always see.
Yeah, but like just the other night, like Ohtani in one game raised his F WAR by like 0.8 or something like that.
0.4 pitching, 0.4 hitting.
Yeah, in just one night, he almost gained 1 WAR. And he's just amazing to watch, and I think he's easily the MVP. And he's actually kept the Angels a little bit in contention this year. I mean, but now we'll really see how that plays out because Trout's going to be out for the next month. So now we'll really see how valuable Ohtani is. But, I mean, obviously, he's probably the most valuable player in baseball, like I just said. But now we get a real chance to see how he does just by himself, really.
This is kind of staying on the Ohtani topic. So he is we talked about this season being so exciting. He's a huge reason why this season has been so exciting. Just watching him dominate pitching. Now he's kind of tailed off a little bit here. I think he has like a blister on his finger or something, so that might be the reason why he's not doing as good pitching wise. But he is on pace to break the home run record. If I keep seeing these stats, like him and Judge last year and him this year, neck and neck, that would be like one of the greatest, like, haha fu moments, I think, in baseball history. But he is a free agent in the offseason. Yeah. Just how much money would you give him personally, and do you think he's going to get?
Way north of $500 million is what he's going to get. I don't know. He's worth whatever he gets, I think, but I just can't, like, I almost want to say like $600 million. But then I don't know if a team would give him that much a year. Like, who could afford $600 million? I guess Steve Cohen maybe, but does he want to go to the Mets? But I think he'll shatter the all-time record for AAV and total contract and all of it, and he deserves every penny of whatever he's going to get.
I mean, I think we could be looking at, like, he's competing with, like, Messi level contracts.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's probably the best hitter in the game, maybe. That's probably worth at least 30, 35 million, and then he's still like an ace pitcher. So you think that way, I mean, you can reasonably talk yourself into giving him 60, 70 million a year.
Yeah.
Reasonably.
Yeah.
And you can say, yeah, it's worth it, which is just weird. You've never seen that in the history of baseball before, like even remotely close to that number. So
Any sport.
Yeah, in any sport. But especially, I mean, baseball is the big contract sport. We never even see that. So we'll move on here to All-Star Week a little bit. So, you know, the midway point of the season is obviously All-Star Week. Leads off with the Derby. The Derby field just got set. Luis Robert is the number 1 seed. He's my must-watch player in the home run derby. I think he's going to just be awesome. Some of the home runs he hits have just been massive. He just drives the ball. It is a little bit of a mid home run derby, like you said. There's just like, it's not bad. It's just not the top 8 names. I think it's probably like the tier below that. So it's still a pretty good tier. But what are you most looking forward to in the home run derby, and how do you think it's going to go? Like, who do you think is going to win?
I'm most looking forward to watching Julio Rodriguez actually in his home ballpark. He's young, he's exciting, and he put on a pretty good show last year too, didn't he?
Yeah, he went to the finals in
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited to see how he does and how he holds up, and just that crowd, they'll love it. It's going to be a packed stadium like it always is, and I love that stadium too, Seattle. It's a great place to have the Derby. But I'll tell you what I'm not looking forward to is Pete Alonso. I hate that they keep letting him in the Derby. He's making it not fun. He takes it so serious. It almost makes me mad.
I completely disagree with you. I love that he takes it so serious. I
Really?
love having a guy that's just so dedicated to it. It's sicko level, in my opinion, and it's just, I mean, it's awesome just to see a guy that takes it that seriously and is that passionate about it.
Last year when they kept showing like all those camera angles and he like looks so locked in and all that stuff, and then he didn't even make it to the finals. Like maybe that means he has something in store for this year because he let so many people down last year. So maybe he'll be right back in it. But like with him, and another thing about him is I just feel like he's always in the Derby, and I kind of wish they would get a little bit more new faces. Like Julio's been in it before, but obviously he should be back in it because it's at his home ballpark. I think Vlad's been in it a couple times, and then Pete's obviously been in it a bunch. So I wish they would switch up a little bit.
Yeah, I think Randy Arozarena in there is going to be really fun. He's just an electric player. But yeah, a lot of the guys, they just do it again. But it's because a lot of people don't want to do the home run derby. It's like it's almost like there's a stigma around it where it's like if you do it, it'll mess up your swing. When it's actually turned out to be the opposite. A lot of guys say it helps their swing.
21.
Which is, I don't know why that narrative is created, but I don't know what is happening in the Cardinal name right now. But yeah, it's a lot of new faces, and I think it's just because those are the guys that enjoy doing it. and they're going to come back and do it. And there's not a lot of guys like that anymore. And then another note, there's 2 former Cardinals in the home run derby. So that's a little bit of a sore subject. But
Yeah,
I'm
it
expecting big days from both of them, especially Randy. But, yeah, so who do you think's going to win it all?
I'm picking Julio in his home ballpark.
Okay, he's going up against Pete in the first round.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But I'm very anti-Pete in the Derby. So, also MLB, they love a good story, so I wouldn't be surprised if Julio has the juice balls maybe in it. We all remember last year. I think Albert's basket had the juice balls in them last year. So even though they're actually probably all super juiced, but hopefully Julio's are just a little bit more. But that's who I'm picking to win.
All right, I'm going Pete. So that's going to be a big first round matchup. I just love the batting practice coach that Pete has throw to him.
Yeah,
The old guy, and he just throws him meatballs. He basically looks like Adam Wainwright out there.
I was gonna say you should maybe ask
yeah.
Wainwright.
Maybe looks like like right-handed Steven Matz or
Yeah.
something. It's basically what he looks like out there, and he just perfect every single time, and his mechanics just so consistent. It makes it so easy for Pete, and I love just the combination of them in there. So
I wonder if like something would have happened with that old guy, if like Pete would stop doing the Derby forever, or if he would just find a new batting practice.
you mean
coach.
like he croaks?
Well, he's just older, so you never know. Something could happen to him. I don't want to say he's gonna die, but if it gets Pete out of the Derby,
You're not planning on doing anything to his pitching.
oh no,
Because
no,
you're got some bad vibes against Big Meat Pete over here.
I just don't like Pete Alonso, man. He tried to fight on the ball club last year, and Stubby Clapp had to take him down, and then he underperforms in the Derby. I just don't like him, and Frank hates him too. So
See, I don't know why Frank hates him because Pete Alonso, he's literally Mr. Met. He plays almost every single game. If you look at his games played, it's like 160 games every year, except for maybe one year he has like a 10-day IL stint, like this year. He's going to be out there every single day. He's going to be batting in the lineup third every single day. And I love a guy that's out there just, playing his heart out for his team. I think he loves the city of New York. So a Mets fan to hate him, I don't really get that.
he's so overrated.
He's overrated?
Yeah.
Okay. He's just a slugger. He's not like a great player. He's just a slugger.
Well, you got to provide a little bit more value to your team, I think. I'm looking at the war leaders right now. I don't even think he's top 50.
Cam, who's your prediction?
Yeah, Cam.
I don't even think he knows his home run derby.
The field was just announced. I was eating dinner. If you read me off the field, I can give you something off the dome.
First round, 1 seed Luis Robert versus 8 seed Adley Rutschman. The 2 seed Pete Alonso versus 7 Julio Rodriguez. The 3 seed Mookie Betts versus Vlad. And then, this is one of my favorite matchups because it's sicko Cardinals. Adolis Garcia versus Randy Arozarena in the first round. That'll be fun.
Who won it last year?
Juan Soto.
Soto, yeah.
That's right. And I don't even think that last round was very close between those two, Julio and Juan last year.
I don't remember, to be honest.
I think it was kind of a blowout, but
I don't remember where the All-Star game was last year.
Minnesota, I think, wasn't it?
No, not Minnesota.
L.A.
LA,
Oh,
yeah.
the Dodgers, yeah.
Shit. Give me chalk. Give me Luis.
Okay. All right. That's not really chalk. He's never been in there before, but I'd say Pete's more chalk, honestly.
Yeah.
But
I'm looking at Alonso's stats right now. He has a 311 OBP. That's
Yikes.
terrible.
Yeah. That's like Molina level bad. All right. Let's move on to the All-Star game here. All-Star Week, it's one of my favorites. I was never able to watch it growing up because I felt like I always had like a baseball game or something going on. Or like I had to go to my sister's softball game. Or I was out of town on vacation or something. So now that I can watch it like consistently, it's it's become one of my favorites. The Cardinals only have one All-Star, and he just wow, what a catch though! And
Damn.
That looked like it hurt him.
yeah, that was a good catch. So yeah, we have one All-Star. Well, I mean, I don't even know what to say about the All-Star game. I mean, because everyone who got snubbed, I
Man.
feel like, is in. Wander is now in due to injury.
Can I say one thing about the All-Star game that I hate?
Yeah, go ahead.
I hate that every team has to have someone in the All-Star game. I hate that.
I hate it too.
The Detroit Tigers are putting in Michael Lorenzen, who's not that good at all. He's maybe mid.
He has like a 4.2 ERA, and he's got like more walks than strikeouts. And
I just don't like that every team has to send someone. I think it should be just the best players.
or I even think
That's simple.
even like
And get rid of fan voting.
I think the fans kind of did good this year. They did solid. It wasn't perfect, but it was solid.
I think it was all right, but I just let the players decide who they think the best players are.
I get that, but like every sport has fan voting. Like all the other sports have fan voting for the starters. It's like a tradition.
Yeah, but I would feel like MLB has the best All-Star game out of any of the sports.
That's true. They do it
So
well.
maybe they should
Okay.
get more players in get more of the better players in, and they will even elevate to another level of how they do All-Star Weekend.
Who do you think shouldn't have been in fan voting wise? Like, what do you disagree with the fans? Because I think almost every single,
I'd have to look it up.
at least in the American League, I think they just absolutely nailed the positions.
Well, I will say one thing. I will agree with you that it has gotten a lot better, but I think it's because it's been so like spoken into existence how bad fan voting is that it almost this year did like a 180 because of how many people said that fan voting is just terrible.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm looking through here. I almost feel like Matt Olson should have been an NL starter at first over Freeman.
That could go either way, though.
Yeah.
I would have been fine either way with that.
Also, this has nothing to do with fan voting, but Whit Merrifield gets in the All-Star game.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I thought it was weird he was top 2, and I thought it was even weirder he got a reserve bid.
Yeah, that's terrible. Also, I don't know if Arenado should have been the starter at third.
If you look at the NL third baseman, it was like just mid across the board.
Austin Riley's not better than Arenado this year?
No.
Okay.
He's not significantly worse, but almost every single category is just slightly worse than Arenado. So.
All right. Well, Arenado has been better than he started. He started off terrible, but
yeah, he's definitely turned it around.
Yeah.
Is
Orlando Arcia really the best shortstop in the National League?
That would be the one that I'd say they got wrong. I mean, Dansby was pretty good.
Lindor's been all right this year.
He's batting like 210 though.
Oh,
he's basically Contreras average wise. Yeah, and he has a little more home runs. But you have any final thoughts about the All-Star game?
No, not really.
Okay.
I hope it's a really high-scoring game.
Yeah.
Hope it's like 20-25. Because now that it doesn't matter about who wins, I hope it's just crazy good offense.
Or just like sick pitchers, like throwing nasty pitches.
Yeah.
Like Felix Bautista coming in, like closing down the game would just be awesome.
Yeah.
Cam, you got any questions?
I would just like to point out, I think one thing I've really started to like over the past few years about this All-Star game is how they are constantly talking to the players throughout the game.
Yeah,
I think that shit
players.
is so sweet. Like Nestor Cortez, I think was last year. They talked to him for a while, but they'll even talk to like guys out in the outfield and that stuff. Like the sounds of the game, like the fans just like right behind them, but also like them communicating with their teammates, whether it's a fly ball or just the stuff that you're communicating as a player in the field since you're in kindergarten, one down, whatever plays it, whatever, looking at your shift card, whatever. But I always liked that stuff. So I'm glad that I that's the part that I think enjoy the most of the All-Star game. So
yeah, All right, I guess we can move on to trade deadline. That's kind of the last big topic we have on here for the baseball wise. It's going to be an interesting trade deadline. Uh, a lot of weird, unexpected sellers and a lot of unexpected buyers. I mean, that's just the flow of the season, though. I guess. Um, who are your biggest buyers? Who do you think is going to be the most heavy on the market this year?
I think that, and I'm a little biased because I need them to win the NL Central because that's who I picked. But the Cubs owner keeps coming out and saying how active they have been and how active they plan on being at the trade deadline. So they're a team that I look out for. Someone in the NL Central's got to do something big, I feel like, in terms of buying, because the Brewers, Reds, and even Cubs, I think, could all a couple pieces and they could run away with the division. Maybe not the Cubs because they're 7 out, but if they make a big enough splash, they could be in it, definitely. So I really look at someone in the NL Central.
I don't know about that. I could see the Cubs doing it, but the Reds and Brewers have never been buyers ever. Think of when the Brewers have had a good trade deadline ever. You can't think, and they've been good for years
They
now.
traded for CC Sabathia at the deadline.
Okay, an old CC Sabathia.
He was not old when they traded for him. He was like the Cy Young winner.
Well, that was a long time. That was like the different management, though.
Same ownership, I think.
I guess I'm thinking more recently, but
I mean, they traded for Yelich in the offseason, so they have been able to make moves.
I'm talking about the trade deadline.
I know, but I'm just saying.
For a push.
I'm sure they made a big splash last year, but I mean, it worked out.
Josh Hader?
Yeah, it worked out bad for them, but I mean, they're not. I don't think they're not necessarily going to pull in someone that makes like $30 million. Obviously, they're not going to pull in a top fish, but I think they could have a big deadline with small moves that could pay off. I don't think necessarily they might be the biggest buyer, but I still think they'll probably add something.
All right, and this is getting a little off topic here, but since we're talking about the Brewers, are they cheating?
No, I just think it goes to show how bad the NL Central is. That the Brewers can be in the top of the NL Central every year, even though they're not good at all. If they were any other division, they would be 4th or 5th in any other division.
Okay, I'm glad that someone sees that, though.
American League Central, 4th or 5th?
Okay. Not the American League Central. Neither are the Centrals. They're both awful.
All right, yeah, back to the biggest buyers, though.
Yeah, another team I'm really interested in is the Orioles. I thought last year almost they were going to have a big trade deadline, but they decided not to, and they actually sold at the deadline last year. And I mean, it worked out for this year, but they just have so many good young players that I think they could afford to get rid of some of those good young players for like a savvy veteran. So they're probably the AL team that I'm most looking forward to. See what they do at the deadline.
All right, you thinking like a pitcher for them, probably?
Probably.
Okay. What about your biggest sellers? Like, who has the most to offer? I can think of 2 big ones in the NL and the AL. So I'm interested to see.
I can think of like 3 in the NL off the top of my head. I think, obviously, Cardinals. I don't know if we'll call it selling, but it's definitely going to be some retooling, I think. I also think it would work out better for the Mets if they did sell at the deadline instead of add. I think they're just so far out of it that they should just sell. Trade a couple guys who are going to be free agents at the end of the season and free up a little bit of cash that you can do something with and just throw the towel in on this season. It's already been miserable to watch, so I think they should just throw the towel in this season. Same with the Padres. I think they should also throw the towel in on this season. And they're really not that good.
You think they should trade like guys like Soto and Snell, or who would they trade?
Yeah, I think they should. I mean, they're 6 games under 500.
I guess like the thing with the Mets and Cardinals have a lot of guys with expiring contracts, but the Padres, like all their guys are locked up forever. I feel like, except for Soto and Snell, they expire next year.
Yeah,
but those are the only 2 guys I could really see them like actually trading.
Yeah, but the other guys just, if they're not playing good, I think they should trade them. Or, I mean, they need pitching bad. That's probably their biggest need. So maybe they, I don't know what they do. Sell some hitters to buy some pitchers, maybe. Like a little bit of both. But they need to do something. Like, obviously, they got Hader and Soto at the deadline last year, so they're no stranger to making big moves. But I don't know if it's selling or buying, but they have to do some kind of big move.
I agree with that. I don't know if pitching is even. I mean, paper wise, pitching is definitely their biggest weakness, but their offense has been underperforming like
Yeah, it
an
has
F this year.
underperformed, but I think that over time the offense will bounce back. But I just don't see this pitching being good over time. You have a little bit more faith in the offense. And then the American League biggest seller, White Sox, probably. I don't even know if there's gonna be a team in the AL that's like gonna do a massive sell. Oakland maybe will try and sell whatever they have left, maybe. But besides that, I would say that not the Astros, the White Sox.
I mean, I White Sox is the one that really gets to me because if you look at their roster, I mean, it's Lance Lynn, it's Joe Kelly, it's Lucas Giolito. That's probably the biggest one. They even came out the other day and said they would maybe trade Luis Robert. That would be huge. Mike Clevenger, he's expiring. Yasmani Grandal is expiring next year. They just have so many guys that could help out a club, and I think they're pretty far out of it right now. I mean, if they go on a run here before the All-Star break, maybe not, which they do play the Cardinals, so they could. But
The only problem I have with the White Sox though is I feel like all those guys have very decently large contracts. Like Grandal makes probably almost 20 million. Lynn makes almost 20 million. Joe Kelly makes like 10 million, which is kind of a lot for a reliever. That's the only problem is they have a lot of bad contracts, I feel like, which should be harder to move.
well, I don't feel like it'd be harder to move because if you're going in for contending, you don't mind the contract. It would just be hard to get a lot in return for them.
Yeah.
I feel like
But
so.
like guys like Lynn, if they were to sell off Lynn and you're going all in for this year, but Lynn still has one more year. So is it really worth it for a team to go all in on a regressing Lynn and then have to pay him 20 million again next year?
In my opinion, probably not. But
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
I mean, you could maybe get like a small prospect for him with some upside, but you're not going to get like a big return for Lance Lynn. I don't feel like. Um, and then, what's your top players to target this off or not this off season at the trade deadline? Like, what are maybe let's just say 3 players that you think will have the biggest impact down the stretch?
Well, number one, I would say if they do decide to move him, I would say it'd be Shane Bieber of the Guardians. He's won a Cy Young before. Uh, Probably one of the better pitchers in the game. Top 10 when he's on, maybe even top 5. So he's probably the biggest one to watch out for. But the Guardians play in that god awful division, so yeah, they're only like a game out. But I just don't know if they're going to be able to give Bieber the money he wants once he becomes a free agent. So I feel like they just might as well trade him. And then another guy, I'm really interested to see what the Cardinals do with Jordan Montgomery because he's been really good as of late, and he was just really good against his old team, the Yankees. And if Bieber's not available, I feel like you could argue that Montgomery's the best starting pitcher available, besides maybe Giolito. But I'd probably even put Montgomery above Giolito. So I'll go with those two as my next two, because teams always need pitching. So I would say Bieber, Giolito, and Montgomery.
Okay, what about a hitter? You think there's any big impact hitters that could get traded at the deadline?
Well, like you just said, if they're open to trading Luis Robert, then I would easily say he's probably the best hitter available at the deadline. And I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of stuff about Soto lately. Just the Padres are so mad at how underperforming he is. But I just feel like I don't think the Padres will trade him one bit. But if he does become available, he'll be someone to watch. So I'd say them too.
he's almost getting a Kyrie Irving reputation. Just
Yeah.
maybe not quite as weird. Like he's just like a team cancer, which is weird because he was like so good when he was young. But
Mhm.
Kim, you got any trade deadline questions? I kind of asked yours for me, so okay. No thanks, just hard pass. Um, we'll get into some of like just other baseball stuff here. Give me a short version of what the hell is going on with the St. Louis Cardinals this year.
Finally, we get into the Cardinal talk. I just think it's been, well, clearly it's how bad our starting pitching has been. I mean,
But we have 6 starting pitchers. You forget that. You forget that we have 6 of them. How could it be so bad?
well, you never said we had 6 good starting pitchers. You just said we had 6 starting pitchers. But, I mean, that's the start of it all, is how bad the pitching has been. And the bullpen has been bad, too. But there's been a lot of underperforming hitters as well, I feel like. And I just saw a tweet on Twitter, and it said, to sum up the Cardinals, it's been mediocre hitting and god-awful pitching. And I feel like that's a perfect way to describe what's going wrong for the Cardinals.
Okay, there's been a lot of calls for Ali Marmol's head. What are your thoughts on that? You were a big Enter Oil guy at the beginning.
Yeah, I really was at the beginning, and I feel like I changed my opinion on if Marmol should get fired like every day. Like sometimes he'll make a move, and I'm like, oh, that's terrible. But then sometimes I'm just like, he doesn't really build the roster, so it's not as much his fault really that he has no pitching and a terrible bullpen, and I mean, how much of development is really on him and how much is it on the front office. So I just think with how bad our team's been, there's no real reason to fire him. Like, I don't think we bring in a new manager right now in the season and we turn it around. So I definitely not now. Firing right now makes no difference, I think, really. If you want to do it at the end of the season, then I think, like, I could see why you want to do that. But doing it right now, I don't think is the move.
You've mentioned this before to me and Cam, I think, but the difference between Marmol and Schilt, what was it?
Leadership, I think it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I just talked to you the other day about that video that was it Randy or Adolis? It was a Rosarina post on his Instagram story when the Cardinals won the Central in 2019, and or it might have been when they won the NLDS after the Braves series. But he posted that kind of hype speech that Mike Schilt gave, and I just feel like I don't know if Marmol would be able to do that right now, and I don't know if he has the locker room to do that right now. And I think that's the big difference. I think Marmol is probably a better in-game manager than Schilt was, and I think Marmol's more analytical than Schilt was, but Schilt had the leadership, and that might be maybe the Cardinals undervalued Schilt's leadership.
I think so too. I was not a big Schilt guy, so I'm not going to come out here and say, "Oh, we shouldn't have fired him," because I was a little bit happy when we did. But I mean, you mentioned that Marmol's an analytical guy, but we hire a person to manage a team. We don't hire a computer. So I do think you should incorporate it a little bit here. But I mean, you got to go off the vibes of the game, and I sometimes feel that Marmol fails on that just a little bit. That's my knock on him for sure and his leadership. But the Schilt thing that you mentioned, the video, Randy Rosarina, that was behind closed doors. We made fun of Schilt a lot for his media and like how he would just have the same press conference basically over and over again, like our guys fought our tails off. But that speech that he gave that wasn't meant for the public to hear. That was just for the locker room. And so to see kind of behind the door what that was like, I think it gave us a taste of what the Cardinals players thought of Mike Schilt. So it's enough Mike Schilt talk, though. He hasn't gotten a job yet, so he obviously can't be that good of a manager. Yeah, that's about all I got.
All right.
Other than I think Jack Flaherty's going to be a great deadline pickup. I would argue he might have the most upside out of all 3 of those guys you mentioned, other than maybe Bieber. I just don't think Bieber's going to get traded. Um,
I don't know, man. I think Montgomery's way better than Flaherty.
I think Flaherty just hates it here. To be honest, I think he just hates the Cardinals. Like he hates the
He's
city.
purposely pitching bad so he gets
I don't.
traded.
I don't think he's purposely. I just think his morale is a little low right
Yeah, he
now.
wants to go to L.A. He fit better in L.A. or San Fran.
Well, yeah, that's the obvious joke. But if you listen to Talking Baseball, all the podcasts, Trevor Plouffe's on there, and he's like best friends with Jack Flaherty, and he's like, I've never met someone so obsessed with free agency as Jack Flaherty is. Like he just
Really?
wants to get paid, and he knows
Maybe start pitching better and you'll get paid.
he knows the Cardinals aren't going to pay him. Apparently, he doesn't give a shit about any of the arbitration meetings. Like he just lets his agent do it, and he's just like, I'll do it when it comes to free agency. So that's a little interesting to me. But I think he does just hate it here in St. Louis, and I think that if he gets like a fresh start somewhere else, especially to a team that's competing, I mean, we saw what he can do a second half of the year in 2019 when he can just dominate. I don't know if he's got. I don't know if he's got.
That was almost 4 years ago.
I don't know if he's got that type of dominance in him, but I think he's still got it in him. So, baseball, that's over. You can do a little bit of personal Jake questions here.
Sure, let's do it.
The personal life of Jake.
All right. Moving on from baseball a little bit. Football, a month away.
We got to include football in this.
I'm just. How are your Broncos going to do this year, Jake? Are you excited? Are you not excited? I mean, Ross is ready to cook again. He's finally got a guy that will discipline him, and Coach Payton. How are we feeling about that? I mean, we were ready to get rid of that other head coach, Nathaniel. It was time for him to go.
Yep.
And you get a stud coach.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking?
Well, I gotta say, I am excited that we finally have figured out. I feel like hopefully we finally found a head coach. I feel like ever since I started really getting into the Broncos with Vance Joseph, it's just been head coach after head coach after head coach trying to find the right head coach. Yeah, Fangio, who was all right for a little bit but then turned out like all the other ones. And then, so I'm happy that we hopefully have a head coach that can get us into the playoffs. I think we have the longest streak out of any team, don't we?
Jets.
And then us.
Yeah. But your last playoff win was the Super Bowl, so at least you got that for you. Under Kubiak, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think having the new head coach that's experienced, knows what he's doing, and well respected will help. I mean, apparently he's already putting Russ to work and made Russ get rid of a bunch of shit. He doesn't have his personal office anymore in there and all that kind of stuff. And his personal trainers don't get to come in there anymore. So hopefully that all helps out. But I will say this. If the Broncos have another terrible season, I might be on the fan free agency. I might pull Frank the Tank and head to fan free agency and just see what happens. Or I might just turn into Rob Lowe and just have my NFL logo hat.
The shield.
Yeah. I might just not root for any team. I think because that's what the Broncos have done to me, is they make me not want to. But I do really like rooting against certain teams, like the Packers and the Steelers. Not to be mean, but I do really like watching them lose. So I might just turn into that as go game by game and see who I want to lose.
Yeah, just turn into that's half of it, really. It really is. Actually, no, I'd say it's half of it. It's half of football fandom. To root for your team is one half, and to hate on your friends' teams and just teams you don't like is the other half. So yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I'm excited for see what the Broncos do in that crazy division as well. Next question: how is coaching Little League baseball this year, Jacob?
It definitely was interesting, and I've come to enjoy it. I'm looking more forward to the games than I was at the beginning of the season, and kind of in the middle point of the season, I was felt like almost a little bit of a chore, but we've seen a lot of improvement from a lot of the kids, so that's really made it interesting and wanting to go to another game. But this Saturday, we got the playoffs, first round of the playoffs for the Pepsi Tigers. So we'll see how that goes, and I guess if we win, we'll keep going, and then if not, I'm retiring as a little league coach. Then and there.
Short run.
But or not retiring, probably. If I ever have a son, then I'll coach him. But putting it on pause, I'm definitely not doing it again next year. But it's been good. I have a good time when I'm there, even when we're getting killed. He said I just talk with Will and Logan the whole time, and then kind of just let the kids play whatever position they want after that. But I tried to explain to them last game that, no horsing around this week. We got a game to win, and quit asking me to play positions that you're not good at, because we got to win, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any roster news? Any big players missing this Saturday?
Yeah, Augie's not going to be there. That's a big blow for the offense. Even the pitching, it shakes up the whole pitching staff. But, we've not had Augie there before, and we've won. So I think we'll be just fine. But it'll also be one of those things where I could see us going, if we would have had Augie, we'd probably score a couple more runs. But, yeah, it shakes up how we write the lineup, and it shakes up how we go about pitching. And even over there at first base, he's one of the better ones at actually catching it. So that's big. But I think we'll be all right without him, hopefully. Also, one other kid won't be there. Can't remember his name.
Shout him out. Shout out. The other kid.
Shout out the kid.
Cyrus. Damn. All right. Next one, little contentious here, Jake. Do you really believe that you can eat 40 hot dogs, no buns, 40 hot dogs, no buns, in 8 hours time?
After the Joey Chestnut, obviously.
Yeah.
We watched the Joey Chestnut Nathan's hot dog eating contest, and Jake said, "Oh, I could eat 62 hot dogs by the end of the night." And then the number regressed to 40, I think, with no buns. So, do you still think that?
I am saying right now, right here, in an 8-hour span, 40 hot dogs, I could smash that easily. I don't think you guys realize how long 8 hours is. 40 hot dogs in 8 hours is easy.
I don't think you realize how many hot dogs 40 hot dogs is.
That's
I get it.
5 an hour. I could easily
That's
eat
so many hot
5
dogs.
hot dogs an hour.
It's so sick. It's so many hot dogs.
I could easily do it.
Okay.
I'm telling you, 40
right.
in 8 hours is easy. I could almost do, eat as many as I can in 1 hour, and then, take an hour off. Just regress, probably be on the toilet for an hour. Maybe even get up, do a little run, see if I can create some more room in there, and then go ham another hour. I'm just saying, 40 demolished. Give me a big jug of water too.
All right.
It's easy. I think you guys would be surprised. I think you should do a poll on your guys' Twitter.
I'll definitely
Post a poll,
And
but
see if people think that I can eat 40 hot dogs in the span of 8 hours.
But I think this is also something where this is going to be a situation where I think we might make you put your money where your mouth is, and I think this might be an upcoming challenge here very soon.
You gotta just give me warning, man. I gotta mentally prepare.
Yeah.
For something like that.
And you know what?
Physically prepare.
You're already thinking ahead about your plan, your strategy, your hour sessions of locking in after you eat. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But I really, the thing that I think might hold you back is, so say you're going ham. Shout out to Kanye. If you're going ham, and say you get 7 or 8 in that first hour, I just don't think you understand how sick you're gonna feel. To where you're just not going to want to go.
I don't realize how much of a machine I am. I think that's the real problem here, is you guys are underestimating me. You guys are too worried about, oh, that's a lot of hot dogs. Oh, you're going to be so sick. No. Okay? I'm a machine. We've seen it plenty of times on the weekends how much of a machine I can really be. So I think 40 in 8 hours is easy.
Easy, Luke. Easy. Okay.
Easy.
All right. Put that on a quote card. Easy. 40 hot dogs, 8 hours.
I feel like if
Easy.
I demolish it, if I actually do get to 40, I should get some kind of reward just because of how much you guys have underestimated me.
Okay. Well,
What if you get 62? What if you just break Joey Chestnut's performance on Sunday?
Okay, if I get... No, I'm not saying. Just know, if I eat all 40 in 8 hours, you guys will wish I didn't.
yes. All right. Yeah. Okay. We'll think of something. Next question. Champaign, Illinois review. You got one?
Yeah, boring. Not fun, especially not having a car. And there was only one person up there that I actually knew from our store. But yeah, I will say though, I was besides the 8 hours I was at work, and that's really what makes me think of the hot dogs. I feel like 8 hours is usually my work shift, and I'm like, oh yeah, easily could demolish 40 hours in my time of being at work. 40 hot dogs, not 40 hours. But I was locked into what was going on with this submarine because I had nothing to do. So I would just get off of work, go back to my hotel room, click, get the news on. Let's lock into what's going on with this submarine. And then everything on my TikTok is like, oh, here's my theory about the submarine. So I was just locked in, and I had literally every social media app that I had on was submarine. And also, I got some really good watching of the College Baseball World Series in, so that was good. Because I don't really watch college baseball that much, which I probably should watch more of it. But, yeah.
Right. Shout out Champaign.
Yep.
And
Never coming back.
Jake, a little bit of a baseball question here. Back to it. I noticed you've been tweeting the Immaculate Square on Twitter.
Yes.
The new game.
I have not done today's. Oh,
Okay.
actually, I did. I got a
How,
perfect score.
how are you liking it?
Shocker. I love it. Except for I do get really mad when there's one that I can't think of. And then I always go straight to Twitter after it. And I'm like, who did everyone else pick? So, but it's really fun. I'm glad they came up with that because I was kind of getting done with the MLB Wordle. Like I was doing that one every day, but I was kind of getting over that one. So I'm glad they came out with that one. And I've been watching John Boy. They've been doing that over at their.
They've been doing it like a long time.
Yeah, they've
like
been
before
doing
the
that
game.
for forever. So
Yeah.
I think that's the person. That's who made the website is John Boy.
Is it actually?
I think Jolly Olive made it.
Okay.
And he works for John Boy. So
it's a sick game. We're getting to the point where some of the teams are repeating, but
yeah.
I mean, some of the reliable names. I think Octavio Dotel,
Fernando
Rodney, Edwin Jackson is a big one. Nelson Cruz is a big one, and for me, Zach Greinke's a big one. He didn't play for like a ton of teams, but I feel like
Jim Tovey's been helping us out a lot too lately. I've
been discovering a lot of teams that he played for.
Yeah.
The Zach Greinke is big because he hits a lot of the milestone ones too. I've noticed like the strikeouts or the innings. So it's a big one for us. But yeah. Do you have any questions for us?
I do not.
Are you sure? You want to think about it for a second?
Yeah, I will think actually. Okay, I got a question for you guys. Genuinely, how many hot dogs in 8 hours do you think you guys could eat?
Good question.
And what's a genuine prediction for what I get to?
What you get to, I think that you'll demolish the first few hours. I think that you'll get like the first 2 hours you'll hit your goal of 5, and then after that you'll start petering off. So, no buns though. No buns does help. That's a big difference.
Throw up, am I out?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You can't throw up.
Okay.
If you throw up, you get the number that you stopped at.
Okay.
But if you throw up after 40, I don't know if that counts. But I'd say you get at least 20. That puts you at 20 plus.
That is so low. I feel like.
But it's
How many
hard for
could
me
you
to
eat?
judge.
How many could you eat?
I would say like 10 or 12 in 8 hours.
8 hours?
Without the bun it's weird to judge without the bun because I'm like thinking with the bun.
You can at least eat 2 hot dogs in an hour. They're fucking tiny.
I think you know what?
They're not really that big. I feel like
That's true. The ones that we were talking about yesterday eating, those were big. But
those ones at Morgan's house were big hot dogs.
I feel like I could get 2 packages in. So I'd say 16. That's a lot of hot dogs, though.
Cam, how are you? You're a hashtag food guy.
I think
I feel like you could easily get 30.
8 hours. I think I'm in the 20s, but like I don't know how I'm doing it because like I don't eat hot dogs without ever. I haven't done that since I was probably like 4 or 5 years old when I was at a babysitter's house and they chopped up the hot dog and put ketchup on the plate and you just rolled it around in the ketchup and then ate it. So just like a part of it would be actually getting over just eating plain hot dogs for me.
Yeah, that's something that
That's
really
a mental
think about.
thing
Yeah,
too.
I think that there will, like, before my body shuts down, I think my brain will shut down and be like, oh, this is starting to taste awful. And might not ever have a hot dog again after I do this challenge.
I mean, I guess you could put like ketchup and mustard on it.
Well, I feel like that's just
It's going to slow you down.
yeah, that's
though.
gonna slow me down.
And it's going to make it that number that you're trying to reach much more difficult to get. I think I could get a little above Luke. I think probably somewhere close to the 20s because 8 hours. But holy shit, I'm going to be sick as a mug.
Yeah.
I really think I would be really, really sick. And my prediction for you, I think you're either going to get either the high 20s or you're going to cross the 30 range. And once you cross 30, you're going to be like, that is damn close and call it. And be really sick.
That's the opposite. If he gets to 30,
yeah,
he's getting there. If he's that close, he's going to finish.
But we got to really plan this out because, like, I don't know what the good time of the day would be to start. If we go, like...
I think if we could make it a weekend thing and, plan it around everybody's schedule, I think we could easily do it either from, like, either a noon to 8 or, like, a 4 to midnight type of deal. I think those are good eating hours. Especially, and you would have to prepare, though, you would not want to eat that day, probably, I would assume, maybe? I don't really know.
You could maybe eat something small for breakfast.
Yeah,
like maybe
I
get
guess.
the tummy going.
Keep it fresh.
Yeah.
But what about the day before? You probably got to eat light as shit. And probably 2 days before. If you really are trying to get to 40.
I don't know, man. I think you guys are underestimating the glizzy goblin.
Okay. All right, so you said about 16. I would say probably about 20-ish for me. 8 hours.
Wow.
And you know what? But like I said, it's a mental thing at that point.
Yeah.
I think we could all I think me and Luke both could actually cross over 20 at least, but our brains are keeping us 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 range.
Let's be clear. We're talking about 40 hot dogs. Cam just muted me out of nowhere. 40 hot dogs. What you said yesterday, you said I could eat 62 hot dogs.
Yeah, okay, now that I'm thinking, I could not eat 62.
Okay.
But
spur of the moment. Okay. Because that was my initial reaction of hell no.
Yeah.
40, there is a chance. I don't think you're going to do it, but
so
there's also
a chance.
I would put in 2021 when the Cardinals had like a 2.8% chance of making the playoffs, that's what I would give you to finish this challenge. Like you could go on a 17-game winning streak, it would be like a miracle, but there's a chance. It's not impossible.
17 dogs, 1 hour.
Yeah. In the last hour.
I'm just excited to see what this Twitter poll does on the Show Me Show because someone told me I fell off. I needed that. That's basically the mindset I have right now.
Ooh, I needed that. All right, Jake. Well, thank you for coming on today and
Yep.
just kind of shooting the shit with us for an hour. So,
It was a good
uh,
talk.
yeah, and I guess we'll see you maybe for the playoffs.
Or you might see me hoisting my trophy from when
Okay.
I eat 40 hot dogs.
Okay. And Cubs are going to win the Central, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Cubs will win the Central.
Okay.
Braves will win the World Series.
Over the Braves, really?
I said Braves are winning the World
Oh,
Series.
I thought you said Rays.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Braves are winning the
Okay.
World Series.
I agree. We gotta end this here, I guess.
All right. So thanks to Jake for coming on the show once again. I think that's third time, right, Lucas? I want to say.
At least I think actually, if you count the
Fourth.
episode that he filled in for you, I think it's fourth. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks, Jake. That was actually probably we liked the Ryan interview a lot and the Trevor interview, but that one was fun because at the end we were just shooting the shit. You're right, Luke. So that was good. We'll do that again sometime. Don't worry. But yeah, thanks to Jake. We are going to wrap up the show with a little Show Me Show question fantasy corner. And then our wheel spins as well. Yeah.
Wait, before we do that though, Cam, did anything happen this week? You got any tough scenes or anything? Anything out of the ordinary? Or was it a good week for you?
Did I have one? Am I forgetting one?
I don't know. It's just a question.
No, nothing major. I mean, $40 on gas yesterday, but everybody's doing that. Not yet. The week is still kind of young. It's a middle-aged week here. Shit, that's not good. No, I'm good so far. How about you?
Okay. Yeah, I had a pretty good week. The storm on Saturday was a little rough, though. Everyone's in bed at 11:45, and it's just tornado siren, and then it was like a fake tornado siren because 5 minutes later they're like, there's no tornado warning anymore, so it just woke us up from nothing.
Yeah, that actually is a tough.
But at least we got rain. We needed rain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
major.
That probably was actually my tough scene of the week. Yeah. I was sound asleep, was woken up for a fake tornado. It's actually, I was thinking about this during the fake tornado, Luke. It's been a while since we've had a real tornado. I'm personally, I live on the side of if you got to be a bitch to die from wind, but it's been a while since we've had a real tornado. So another fake one come and gone, fake storms. That was a tough scene. Took a little bit to get back to sleep, but eventually I was able to overcome adversity and do that, Luke. So yeah, that was my tough scene as well.
Of course. I guess my tough scene would just be that I got locked out of the gym that I paid for. I have a key card, not a key card, but a key fob, and you just scan it on the thing on non-business hours. All you got to do is scan in, and then you can get into the gym for 24-hour access. And it just denied me the other day. I was just trying to finish my workout, and it's like, you actually can't go in here. And but luckily, I got that taken care of, so it's all good now. But it was a tough scene in the moment because I had to just come home. What are you asking me, Cam?
I was you were frozen on my screen, so I missed the last 30 seconds of whatever you just said. So
I was talking about my key fob story about how it locked me out of the gym.
Oh shit! Yeah, that was a weird, tough scene.
Yeah. I was just halfway through my workout because there's 2 separate buildings at the gym, and I could get into the other one, but I went to finish my workout on the inside. It was like, no, you can't do it. So I was just cut short in the middle of my workout. It was weird.
Yeah, I would have been up in arms about that as well.
That's some tough scenes, but we did ask for some listener questions today, and if you do follow the Twitter, make sure you follow the Twitter. I know we pound that in constantly. It's in your face all the time, but it's important because Twitter that's how this show lives, really. What just happened? Walk-off? It's got to be a walk-off. Did the Cardinals just get walked off? The C words, did they just get...
Jesus Christ, Luke. This team, man. This team.
Did they lose?
They lost,
Did
man.
the Knicks win?
He had an easy he had an easy out at first, and he just threw it way over Paul's head, and 2 guys scored.
No way, an error.
Guy from first scored. He threw it into the stands just about.
That was the most predictable thing ever. When we got on to finish the show, we were talking about the Jordan Walker home run. 3-2 count down to our last strike. Jordan Walker, 2-run homer to put us up. And I told Cam, well, there's still 3 outs to blow it. There's still plenty of time for us to blow this game. And sure enough, oh, thank God I'm not watching it. I'm protesting. I refuse to watch a terrible ball club. There's no way. Oh my God. Okay, we got to get back. No more C words talk. We had enough of that.
That was
I
bad.
actually prefer not to get more screen time.
Oh man, that was
Shout out
really,
Jordan
really
Walker.
bad.
I
guess.
In all honesty,
thanks
though,
for the memories.
shout out Jordan Walker. Yeah. Thanks for the hope. He's like Jordan Love for me right now. I
Worst
put
drug.
my faith in Jordan's. Hope. Yeah. He's giving me hope. Yeah, that's just an ongoing tough scene as the 2023 C words baseball season. But yeah, basically, before that happened, we're going to be asking probably the next few weeks just for some questions. So if you want to get involved in the show, make sure you go on the Twitter, ask some questions to be mentioned on the show, because we are in a lull of the sports season, and the one team that is playing right now, I mean, we just laughed at them. So, just to get on some, a bright note, we'll ask some questions. So we did ask that this week. We got a few questions from Mr. Tom Haddocks, avid listener of the show. He comments a lot, so shout out to Tom Haddocks for being involved in the show. Might be up for listener of the year. He might be up for that.
Yeah, thanks, Coach.
Yeah. So the first question that he has, he says, best athlete nickname of all time. He gave some examples, aka Sweetness or the Wizard, etc. We did talk about this one a little earlier ago, and I think a lot of them that we mentioned were probably not appropriate for the show, but there are some pretty good nicknames regardless.
One that's just off the top of my head, Megatron for Calvin Johnson. That is an unreal nickname.
Awesome.
I mean, you just know, if you hear Megatron and you know anything about the 21st century, you're just like, man, and you're talking about sports, you're like, man, that guy must be an unbelievable player. And he was. So I would say Megatron's up there. I mean,
I'll stay on, Megatron definitely. That might be 1-1, honestly. If we're doing like a power rankings, that might be 1-1 in a draft. But staying on football, another one that might be the second right behind that, Primetime, Deion Sanders.
that is a damn good one, yeah. Oh, man, yeah.
Just Primetime.
Honestly, moving over to basketball, just LeBron, the king, if you're just called the king,
Yeah.
I mean, you just know you own that entire era, which is pretty crazy. So,
One that goes along with that, too, that's emerging is the Joker, like Jokic. I mean, if we're going like deck of cards, the King, the Joker, I mean, those are like 2 top-tier cards right there, and it's just, I could battle it out. It's pretty cool. I remember they did that graphic during the Western Conference Finals, and I was like, that is just sick, where they put them on the playing cards. That's awesome. Some baseball ones I could think of, El Nino, Fernando Tatis. I don't know how he got that nickname, but that's a sick nickname. Big Train. This is an old one, but Walter Johnson, Big Train. I mean, if you're just called Big Train and you're a pitcher, That's just a sick nickname.
That gives me Night Train Lane. That is an all-time name.
Yeah.
Night Train Lane.
Sure.
I mean, tackle people by their necks and their face masks. One of the greatest cornerbacks of all time. Wore 81 as a cornerback. Ed Too Tall Jones. That's a great one. Coach Haddock's mentioned some.
Mordecai Three Finger Brown.
Yeah. His Sweetness, Walter
Old-time
Payton,
pitcher.
the Wizard. The
Wizard's a great
Bam,
one. Yeah.
yeah,
Love that.
the Great Bambino, the Babe. I mean, those are all
Pretty much. Yeah. Every single one of Babe Ruth's nicknames is just
They
it's an
play.
all-time. I mean, the Sultan of Squat, the King of Crash, the Great Bambino, the Babe, just everything.
Yeah.
He's one of those legends of sports.
Absolutely.
I mean, people make the joke in today's game he wouldn't be as good, which is 100% true, but he's still a legend. So you can't write baseball without Babe Ruth.
Hammer and Hank Aaron. That's a good one.
It's a good one.
Man, there's so many even that are relevant today that if it was football season, we would be able to just off the top of our heads because people would be saying their names a lot more often.
Yeah.
I guess I'll bite the bullet and name off some of the vulgar ones. Big Meat Pete Alonso. We talked about him a lot earlier during the show.
Polar Bear. Polar
yeah.
Bear too. That's another one of his. That's cool.
Big Dick Nick during the Super Bowl run. Nick Foles for the Eagles.
Oh yeah.
And a local legend, Horsecock Lock. There you go. Those are your big three.
Drew Lock, baby.
So yeah. I could sit here and do this for hours.
Some basketball ones in today's
Hookah?
Spida. Huh?
Spida Mitchell? Yeah. I was gonna say Hookah Doncic.
Did we just say the same thing?
No, you said Spida and I said Hookah. Himmy Butler.
Oh.
Yeah.
Himmy Butler's a good one. I mean, if you're just called Himmy, that's you're him. I'm trying to think of some NFL ones. I know Pat Mahomes needs a nickname. He needs a nickname.
I don't know. I mean, he's kind of like Tom Brady. It's kind of you're just that good. You don't even need one. Yeah, it's just GOAT, pretty much.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Man, I feel like we're missing so many older
players.
We
are. We're missing NFL too.
Kareem the Dream.
Yeah. Magic. Oh, Magic. That would have been a big miss.
Yeah, it's an all-time. Yeah, no kidding. It was a layup right there.
Yeah.
Mamba. The Black Mamba.
Yeah, the Black. Damn, yeah, that is a really, really good one.
That's an all-time. We'll have to do you want to do just a Mount Rushmore real quick, PMT style? Okay. We'll do a snake.
Okay. Well, we've just named them all, though.
We'll have to go rapid fire here. We'll have to go rapid fire just to do top 4 for each of us.
Okay. I'm gonna take
first.
my 1-1 Megatron. I'm gonna take 1-1.
All right. I'll go prime time. Like I said earlier, I think that's number 2. Man. I'll go Big Train, Walter Johnson. I love that one. It's one of my personal favorites.
Oh man. Pick 4 here.
You get 2 of them.
I think I'll go with Night Train Lane. That is, yeah. And then the Black Mamba. That is a really good one too.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Okay. That was gonna be my next one. I'll go the King because LeBron. And then I'll go the Wizard. I'll say Ozzy.
Mm-hmm.
That's my 4.
Yeah. I want to
Just barely missed with Magic, but you get one more there.
I think I was either going to take Magic, but I really like Sweetness too. I mean, that is just there's nothing like Sweetness. I
I'm a big
mean it.
fan.
So yeah, I'll go Sweetness.
I'm not a big fan of Sweetness, but it's all right, I guess. I don't hate it. All right,
The
question number
fridge.
2.
Forgot about the fridge.
That's true.
Thicker kicker. That is a really good one too that we forgot about.
Harrison Butker.
No, Mevis.
Number
Mevis.
2. Best. Yeah, Harrison Mevis, not Butker. Yeah, same. It's a kicker though. Best sport to watch in person. The answer is either hockey or soccer, but I'll hang up and listen. I will agree with you. Soccer is awesome to watch in person. If you're watching it on TV, it's boring as hell. But in person, if you've never been to a professional soccer game in person, it's awesome. The fans are so passionate. It's one of those sports where you just like appreciate the fans more than what you do the actual sport itself. Hockey's all right. It's cool to watch in person. I would not say it's the best one though, by any means. I actually enjoy watching hockey on TV more than I do in person.
For me, hockey in person is probably the only way that I can actually sit down and watch it, kind of like baseball. I think this question's kind of hard for me because it kind of depends on where you're at in the season, and it depends on if it's just straight regular season games, I think it's hockey over even soccer. But if we're talking playoffs or anything like that, I mean, playoff baseball is insanity and playoff football is insanity. I haven't gotten to experience playoff football. I've experienced playoff baseball, and it was awesome. I haven't gotten to experience playoff football, but I've seen it on TV and I can see it, But I would also say, I mean, there's not a whole lot of atmospheres like college football atmospheres.
That was what I was getting ready to say. Best atmosphere.
And even big rivalries late in conference season for basketball too. I mean, in college, so those can get. I mean, pretty much any college atmosphere kind of trumps any professional atmosphere for me, at least. I just think college atmospheres are that much better.
I don't know. I think that soccer can compete with it because in America we've big corporate, corporate America has kind of taken over sporting events, I feel like, to a certain extent in America. But in soccer, it's like the poor man can just go to a soccer game. They allow for that to happen. So it gets pretty rowdy over there. I've never been, obviously, to like a European or Spanish soccer game, but I can only imagine how electric that atmosphere must be. And that's regular season games. Like they don't really have postseason over there. So that's like every game is just like an awesome atmosphere. But I've never been to an NFL game, so I can't say that. I'm hoping to go to one this year. That would be awesome. But I've never been to an NFL game, so I can't really fairly judge that. But the two best atmospheres I've been to, like sporting wise, was the St. Louis City game. It wasn't even an MLS game. They were playing like some lower level team. The atmosphere there was awesome at St. Louis City Soccer. And then the Cardinal playoff game last year, like when Juan Yepes hit that 2-run homer, that was probably the loudest I've ever heard a stadium ever in my life. So that was pretty awesome. So playoff baseball, college football. I think it depends on the atmosphere that you're in, because there's some that are better than others. Like if you're at a whiteout Penn State Saturday night game, I can't imagine there's a better atmosphere in America better than that. That's one of the all-time greats. If you're Virginia Tech, that's a great
Sandman,
atmosphere.
It's kind of a depends on the situation kind of thing, because I have been to a few NFL games, and I've been to some where the atmosphere wasn't that great, but I've also been to some where it was Cardinals Rams Thursday night football, and the stadium was packed, and the Rams won at the very, very end of the game, and it was sick. And then I've also been to two SEC East clinching Mizzou football games, and those were two of the most fun sports nights of my life. So, I and I've had some crazy, awesome Mizzou basketball experiences as well. So I personally, for me, I just think college atmospheres trump everything here in the States. And I am 100% agree with you. I bet overseas European soccer is insanity. Because kind of like you were talking about, even for just regular season games, but also their regular season games mean so much more because their asses get relegated. So, yeah.
I think we should bring relegation into American sports, but that's not a topic for today. But I think that would make things a lot more interesting and a lot more competitive. And these owners they're jugheads, we'll say that, and they will be humbled. So let's get the last question here is your go-to sauce at B-Dubs. I'll be honest, I don't really go to B-Dubs that often, but I usually just get the buffalo sauce and it hits every time. So
I usually splash in a bunch of different sauces. I like to go teriyaki and honey barbecue as my not spicy, and then I'll either go with I don't know if it's called like a Carolina Heat there or just buffalo as well. But I really like getting like a bunch of different sauces, and I always try to get those three: buffalo, teriyaki, and honey barbecue. So those are probably my top three. Not very hot, but and pretty simple, but I love them. So, yeah.
all right, good answers. You want to get to some wheel spins here before we close out the show?
Sounds good.
We doing 3 here today?
Yeah, we can roll with
Or are
3.
we doing 2? Okay. I thought we did the math on it last week, and it was like
It's 3 a show.
None.
Yeah.
Okay. This one's an interesting one. It's a big topic one. The Detroit Lions. This is one of the most interesting teams going into next year, in my opinion. You want to go first or me? Because I'm kind of ready to speak on it.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, yeah, then
right.
you can go first.
You got a timer?
That's fine. Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Detroit Lions, they are kind of on the up and up. They're very, very hyped up to compete this year. They're probably going to be NFC North favorites, if I had to guess. Their defense is awesome. Jared Goff has actually evolved into a pretty good quarterback. Their offense is evolving. They're getting a lot of receivers. Their O-line is getting sneaky, really, really dominant good. And then Dan Campbell, hiring the ship. He's turned this ship around. It was a disaster when he got there. In just 2 years, he's made him a competitive team. I think they might be slightly overrated, but I still think they're going to make the playoffs. And hey, they could get their second win since 1957. So,
yeah. And the ship was going under last year, and he righted it towards the end, and they almost made the playoffs. Spoiled the Packers, as we all remember. And one thing I'll say about this, Luke, is we're going to find out very, very, very fast because they play the Chiefs first game of the year, Thursday night football to start the NFL season. So we'll find out pretty quick. All right, there we go.
I also don't think that. And you said find out really quick. That's a terrible judgment game. Like if we make a judgment on them based off the Chiefs,
right? It is
opening weekend,
but you'll find out. You'll find out what they're made of.
I mean, if they go in and they just demolish the Chiefs, then it's like okay, here come the Lions.
No, they're not gonna. It's not just that. It's can they hang? Can they,
Okay. Can they hang with them? I get it. I get what you're saying. But it's also the Chiefs. We have to figure that in.
That's the
And
NFL.
what spin that was.
You'll see.
Oh, Okay, all right. And here's probably the second interesting team going into the year: the Buffalo Bills.
Shout out
Buffalo
Grayson.
Bills. I'm kind of the other way though. That's great. Yeah, you can take the first one on this one.
Okay.
You got it.
All right, everybody's getting older. Nobody's getting younger on this team. Their drafting has been kind of weird. Their signings have been kind of all over the place the last few years. Von Miller got hurt, obviously, and they've been trying to keep that secondary together. But Josh Allen's just got to prove it, and that's really enough said. They should have went and got out a true running back, but they really didn't. So another year without a running back, just Josh.
Yeah, I mean this team has been one of the AFC top dogs for years now, but they haven't gotten over that hump. They haven't won the AFC. And that's a little bit concerning to me because everyone, like you said, is getting older on this team, and everyone in their division is getting better. The Dolphins are getting better. The Jets are getting better. Maybe not the Patriots, but those two teams are getting better. They're going to have a tough time winning the division this year, I think. Still a playoff team, 100%, but are they Super Bowl contenders anymore? I don't know, and that concerns me. I think they're going to underperform this year significantly.
But we were talking last night that might be the best thing for them. We'll see. Going into the offs, that is.
All right. Okay. We got the Cleveland Browns up next. I don't know if that's really an interesting team or not, or if it's just like the Cleveland Browns, but there's some interesting things going here.
We can beat around the bush.
Speak on your AFC North.
Beat around the bush.
Or we could beat on the bush. And
shout out to Sean.
If you're Deshaun Watson.
Let's see. Yeah, I hate these guys. I always do. I hate Brownie the Elf with a passion. Deshaun Watson, don't really like him. I hate their fans more than anything. They're just dumb, stupid. Not a whole lot of analytical stuff here. I don't really think they're going to be that good unless Deshaun rises back up. And if he does, then they're going to be pretty solid, I think, because they have the roster talent. And Deshaun, you need a good quarterback to win in this league.
Yeah, Deshaun is the huge key here. I mean, we talk about the QB for almost every single team. This is literally a live or die with the QB type of team here. Kevin Stefanski has shown he can be a good play caller in the past, obviously winning Coach of the Year, but he's also shown he can be a pretty terrible play caller as well. But this team, I mean, they need to live through the running game. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, I think they still have Kareem Hunt. But Nick Chubb, anyway, on the ground, just an absolute dog. I think this team might sneak into the playoffs this year and surprise some people. But Sean's got to play well. Big key there.
Yeah. All right, that's 11 teams down.
Yeah, 21 left. Wheels getting smaller. Some of the teams on here include the Packers, could be an interesting one. We got some interesting ones off the board today, though. The Bills and Lions were like two of my interesting ones. The Jets will be an interesting one to talk about. Ravens. Jaguars will be interesting. Giants will be interesting. Dolphins. Rams will be very interesting to talk about. And, of course, the Broncos, too. Some of the interesting teams that we still have left. So, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you once again to Jake. And if you guys have any suggestions for, I don't know, interviews or topics you guys want to hear on the show, we're all ears until, we got another month and a half till football season starts. So, yeah, we got a lot to do, but thank you guys for tuning in once again, and we'll see you next week after the All-Star game. So have a happy All-Star game, everyone.